The shortage of silver, it's causing huge premiums on this stuff. Is it? Well, it's certainly compounding with other demands which are making silver more expensive for us, the consumer. But I think it's worth having an air of caution. The silver shortage is not the only reason why silver is at a high premium right now. So let's explore more about silver premiums and silver shortages and how they are linked. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a warm welcome to you all joining me for another precious metal ramble. Now today I want to talk about the silver shortage and its relationship to the premiums that we pay on beautiful coins like these 10 and 2 ounce Lions of England. Now I put silver shortage in inverted commas because I do firmly believe that you can interpret data from silver institutes and other news sources in whatever way you want to fit whatever agenda you want. And I'm not here to do a deep dive into the analysis of the Silver Institute's reports. Instead, I want to give a little bit more of an overview, kind of maybe a slight contrarian view of how this whole industry works and how, in my opinion, things will change over time, but it's going to be slow to get there. The premiums that we're seeing on this silver, because of the supply chain and logistical issues, and those are phrases we're going to hear a lot more of over the next year or two as well, are having an effect, but they're not the only reason why we're having high premiums on silver, and that's compounded by then we have the silver squeeze movements, the silver raiding, and the premiums on dealers being put up because they can and because they want to, of course, make as much money as they can. They're businesses at the end of the day, after all. So a lot to get through, and I hope you will enjoy this video as we do. So please let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section and put that thumbs up if you're enjoying this video, and consider subscribing as well if you've not subscribed. We do lots of kind of thought-provoking content like this, and if you like this, you probably like some of the ones we'll make in the future. So, silver shortage. Let's start with, I think this last 2 years has been really telling. I want to start with March 2020. So before March 2020, silver had been kind of fairly static over the previous 3 or 4 years. We'd seen a few movements because of things like the elections in the US and various other compounding effects like Brexit here in the UK, but it didn't really shift very much at all. Then we saw things move up a little bit in the build-up towards the real brown stuff hitting the fan from the coronavirus pandemic. And in March 2020, it all fell off a cliff. We saw all of the big players in the markets needing to release their positions on paper silver, which drove the price down massively. And that left us, the physical buyers of silver, in a little bit of a quandary, because we of course saw this huge buying opportunity. I know I did. I remember the day that I was driving in fact to Norfolk on holiday, and silver was tumbling, and I was trying to get hold of my dealer and say, can I buy, and it was just, he just couldn't. He could not, because he could not resupply. He could not get, once he'd sold the stock that he got. A lot of these dealers, you've got to remember, they won't necessarily hold 10,000 ounces in their vaults. Instead, if they have an order placed, they'll have their wholesaler on call. They'll have weekly deliveries, even every day sometimes for the bigger dealers, and they'll be able to margin that and get it out. But that was not possible. We started to see, of course, the world shut down and lock down. So dealers then realized fairly quickly that if they were going to sell stuff, they were going to run out of other things. So why not make more money on those bits that they could? And that's exactly what happened. We saw premiums go up and up and up. I remember the spot price being around £10 an ounce, probably around $12.50 an ounce in dollars. But you could not, for love nor money, get physical silver from a dealer for less than 17, 18, 19 pounds an ounce at the time. And even in the UK, then there would be VAT and tax to add on top of that. So it was a real tumultuous time. And that has somewhat kind of stayed with us, that legacy issue of the whole silver shortage, I suppose. You know, that when the world closed down and mines started shutting down operations and not being able to supply, or even the supply chain itself shutting down, and you see refineries not being able to produce, and of course then that has the run-on effect to the dealers not being able to get the coins that they want from the mints around the world because they can't produce the coins that are needed. And so you see the run-on effect. It just compounded and compounded, and then it was really jumped on by the new Wall Street silver movement, and how that just absolutely evolved and crushed anything that was left. You saw dealers just absolutely cashing in huge premiums on things like American Silver Eagles and the like, just taking everything as much as they could whilst they could. And who to blame them really, because dealers at the end of the day are there as a business. So the premiums that we saw were double compounded, and where we are now in this world is we're still affected by both elements of it. Now, I just want to touch on the silver shortage side of things again, because one of the big messages that you hear from a lot of these sort of fear channels about how silver is going to be in such demand from industry, from solar power, from renewable energy, from electric cars and automotive industries. Yeah, I don't doubt that over time silver is going to become more in demand and it's going to cause prices to increase. It's one of the reasons that I subscribe to buying silver in the first place, because I think it will have a lot more potential for growth over time. But we're talking 15, 20, 30 years. We're not talking 5 or 10 years like a lot of these other channels might be talking about. It really is about the long term, and you've got to understand that it's also not guaranteed. There are a lot of other factors at play that will affect silver's performance over a long period of time. It's not just about the solar industry. You hear that so often. That said, silver's not rare. It's rarer than other metals, but it's not rare. The hundreds of millions of ounces of silver are mined every year, and there are a lot more ounces of silver out there in the world yet to be mined. Now, at the moment, mining silver and bringing it out the ground at $22 an ounce, that's one of the big issues that companies and mining companies and refiners and mints are facing, because it's not necessarily feasible and practical to get that out of the ground. In fact, a lot of the time when silver prices go down like this, you will see production drop, and that's just natural. It happens in the same for oil and gas sectors. You see the price of oil come down and all these big projects just slow down. They don't start producing, or if they are producing, they're only producing what they're contractually obliged to for various different contracts that they've got, or to meet the active supply on the market. Because again, if you flood the market with these products and you flood the market with silver, it's going to have that compound effect of making it even cheaper. There's more choice for people to go to. If the Royal Mint or the US Mint needs to buy blanks, and there's an abundance of silver on the market with refineries all over the shop going, I can make your blanks for 1 cent over spot, I can do it for spot, or I can do it under. It just compounds it. So you do see this natural balance. It's just simple economics, supply and demand. You see this natural balance occur. And that, I think, is where we're going to see things in this next 6 months to a year. So we're in this interesting point now where silver out the ground at $22 an ounce, £17.50 an ounce, doesn't make a great deal of sense to a lot of businesses because of the cost of living and just general increases in pretty much everything else that we're seeing in this world. Fuel, logistics is the big thing, and that's what's really causing these silver premiums. If you've not seen a great video by Silver Seeker, I've mentioned him quite a few times in a few of my recent videos because his channel is just so great. Go and check it out. I'll put a link to it down in the description below. But he interviewed one of the key players within Elemental, which are one of the biggest producers of silver and silver blanks in the United States. And they were just simply talking about premiums, and premiums being the thing that are affecting silver the most, and that they're here to stay for at least a year or two, if not potentially more. And I think that's going to then compound into another little topic, which is perhaps another video for another time. But you hear all of these massive fear-mongering headline news articles about inflation at 10% and so on. A lot of that is, I hate to use the phrase, but transitory, because a lot of the supply chain issues that we're going to see will be resolved, will start easing, and will start actually coming down in price over time, and then that will be passed through to the consumer. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's us, the consumer, that gets levied and burdened with all of these different elements that form the premium or the shortage of silver, and we have to factor that in. So all things told, it's going to be an interesting period of time over this next 2 years to really see where premiums end up being for silver. One thing that I haven't really touched on is that we're not seeing similar levels of hype and premium on gold, and part of that reason is that gold's price point has stayed pretty high over this period. So again, the mitigation is that these effects are not quite as much and as big on gold. But maybe it will start to kick through for sure. But I know for my own experience that silver premiums are a thing that I think will see come down. They have already started to come down, quite frankly, after the big silver squeeze movement last year, but it's only going to take more time, I think, to see us return to some semblance of normality, and I think it will happen. It's just a matter of time. So that's my thoughts. I'd love to know what you think down in the comment section below, so please feel free to comment and to hit that thumbs up button as well, and let me know if you're a Backyard Bullion Rambler, if you watch my videos to the bitter end. It's always great to hear from you, so comment down below and let me know. Otherwise, that's it from me. We'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment and subscribe for more.